Well, Andy, we played 6 games in Ettan Södra this season. What are your impressions of your team so far?
Well, I think aside from the first game of the season, we've played very well in all of them, which sounds a very easy cop-out when you've lost 4 and won 2, but the reality is that tomorrow we'll play our 7th game and it'll be our 5th game against a team in the top 5. So, you know, the start that we had we knew that it was going to be tough on paper. But, you know, like I say, aside from the first game, we completely dominated against FC Trollerton. We had 19 shots at goal, 9 of them on target. We scored 1 goal, they had 6 shots and scored 3. One of them was a penalty. We played particularly well at Lund until we had the red card. And then, of course, they put us under pressure and scored in the 88th minute. Got a great result against Falkenberg, another good side. Didn't really back that up against Ängelholm, but we were worth something out of that game in a difficult kind of conditions, typical Vänersvallen day with a wind going straight down the field. And then a wonderful performance at Ariana last week. We've won 2 out of the last 3. We've conceded 1 goal in 3 games. Hopefully they're sort of pointing in the right direction. Another big game, another tough game tomorrow against one of the, well, actually the favourite for the series from the start. So I've got to say I have been remarkably relaxed through the period, even with the losses, irritated but relaxed, because I think I've just seen so many good things. And unfortunately we had a lot of individual errors in the early games that always ended up in our goal. And sometimes you go through spells like that, and sometimes you make personal errors and you don't get punished. It was like we got punished whenever we made one. So we've spoken about cutting those out, being a little bit harder to score against and not gifting goals to the opposition. So actually remarkably positive, if I'm being honest.
And what is the details that you want to improve most?
Well, I mean, I don't think that you need to be a kind of football Einstein, and I'm not, but you don't need to be an Einstein to realise that you can't concede 9 goals in your first 5 games and expect that you're going to be on the right side of results. So clearly, we spoke about it last week, we just, you know, can't afford to continue to give goals to the opposition in the fashion that we had, because we played in games where the opposition caused us no problems at all, but when we were gifting them a chance, they scored. FC Trollerton's a fine example. I mean, you know, we gifted them 2 goals and possibly a third, but you know, the third was a penalty. And we just had, you know, we got to cut that out. I mean, it's you know, we're playing major football, elite football, and you get punished, and we know that you get punished. So we've got to try and eliminate that. And thankfully, touch wood, in the last 3 games, there's been much less of that. And be nice to hit the back of the net a little bit more often. But I think that first and foremost, we had to, you know, stop conceding goals that were mainly of our doing. So I don't think there's any secret recipe after 5 games. We'd conceded too many goals.
You always prepare very much. You watch the opponents and you discuss with your players. How should we take points from Falkenberg?
Well, I mean, obviously what you see in theory and what happens in practice can be 2 different things, but obviously you're going off what you've seen their team do previously. And what we find, for example, with our style of play and the way that we press, is that many teams change when they play us. So sometimes your video analysis and your the work that you do sometimes is negated somewhat because the opposition change the way they play, which of course they're entitled to do. So, you know, I think that tactically, I think we've been very good. You know, we haven't been dominated by a team other than Oddevold in the first game of the season. Nobody's dominated us. All the statistics back that up, unless you count irrelevant ball possession as being dominated, which I don't. I mean, but in terms of shots, in terms of goals predicted within games, we've finished higher than in every single game that we've played than the opposition. So, I mean, obviously Falkenberg are a strong team. Their strength lies in the top half of the field, like in many, many teams in this league. They will throw people forward. They sometimes have a line of 5 up front when they're in attacking mode. It causes you problems at the back, but it leaves them susceptible to breaking out and counter-attacks and transitions. And we've worked a lot on transitions, both attacking and defensively, in the last few weeks, and changed the shape of the press slightly. It's going to be a tough game, but I've gone into every game this season having watched the opposition play thinking that we were going to win. And sometimes that's, you know, it's not embarrassing to say. Sometimes you think, how do we get a win against this team? It's going to be really tough. But, you know, I look at the game tomorrow and I think that they're a very good side. They've got some very good players. They've got players that have played at a higher level, and they've got a huge, huge budget, 13 million kroner or something. It will be a tough game, but it's not a game that is beyond us. I think we've proven that by playing the 2 top teams already in the league in FCT and Lund and doing very well against them. We've lost both games, so the points don't lie. But very, very good. We've done well against both, and I hope that if we produce the level of performance that we've done since the first game of the season tomorrow, we can get a positive result.
And I have the feeling that many opponents, they don't really like to come here, play Vänersborgs IF away with the high press and all the effort that you put in the game. Is that your impression too?
Well, I mean, I don't think we're easy opponents to play against, and I don't think we have been since we played Linköping away in the first game that we ever played in Ettan. And I think the reason for that is because we try and attack teams, and we're positive against the ball and we're positive with the ball. And I think that it's a pretty kind of Swedish way that, you know, the slow kind of build up and the spreading out and that kind of game. It's been like that since I played here. So I think that once you are on the front foot and once you're aggressive against the ball, and I mean trying to win the ball back quickly, and then you try to go to goal quickly, it's the kind of recipe that is not particularly nice to play against. It's not impossible to play against, and teams have proved that against us and against other teams that play like that. But my message to the players is, you know, be positive against the ball and be positive with the ball. You know, the game's about scoring goals at one end and keeping them out at the other end. And we try and do that in every game, and we don't always succeed, but, you know, we've had enough success to be in this division for the 3rd year running after 116 years. So, we must take some credit for that, the players that have played, you know. And, you know, hopefully we're looking to build on it. We've had some great performances this year. We've had some of the top performances on the field in our team this year, and we just quite haven't nailed it down in terms of keeping the ball out of our goal. So if we can do that, I remain really, really confident, and I've been like that when we've been losing and it's kind of not like me, but I've been irritated, but looking then at video and thinking, you know, we did really well apart from these crazy situations that we just didn't kill, you know.
Good luck, Andy, against Falkenberg.
Thanks, Eric.